Malcolm Turnbull is facing big choices, but picking between Donald Trump and Jinping isn't one of them. Donald Trump's first trip to Asia as president has made for a strange spectacle. In Seoul, Trump praised South Korea's ancient modern wonders, and in Tokyo, during a round of golf with Mr. Trump, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe fell into a bunker. But Mr. Trump has avoided the hazards so far. He is at the centerpiece of his trip, the State Visit Plus to China. Mr. Trump would push Jinping for trade concessions and assistance in squeezing North Korea. Australia will be watching closely. Keeping the US engaged in Asia is a priority. But Malcolm Turnbull has already signaled that a more assertive Australia policy towards Asia is in the making. Those worried about Mr. Trump's isolationist streak should be happy that he is coming to Asia at all. This is a president who was homesick when he moved to Washington. U.S. diplomacy in Asia requires presidential attention. It is essential to show up. The stakes are high, but the expectations are low. Mr. Trump's gaffes and lack of interest in policy have been normalized, so if he gets through the trip without causing a major diplomatic incident, it will look like a success. Mr. Trump comes into the meeting with 11 in a shaky position. After 10 months in office, he has no major legislative achievements. His approval rating is 38%. The investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election casts a dark shadow over his presidency. In contrast, Mr. 11 recently solidified his position at the head of the Chinese Communist Party at its 5-yearly conference. His philosophy, Jinping thought, is now enshrined in the party constitution. His ambition for China is on show for the world to see. Mr. Trump will likely get a sugar hit from the visit, something to tweet about on trade, vague promises on North Korea, and pseudo-royal treatment. But despite his self-declared reputation for negotiation, he is unlikely to draw many concessions from Mr. 11. Adjusting for leadership, the two countries look as evenly matched as they have in modern history. This has sparked another round of the familiar debate. Does Australia have to choose between the US and China? Australia is entering a period of strategic uncertainty. The last thing we should be doing is closing off options. But more importantly, this question is reductive. There is much more to Australia's strategic circumstances than the US and China. This is not to underestimate the scale of the challenges facing Australia. We do have big choices to make. China wields coercive influence over its smaller neighbors and undermines the rules-based order. We should not underestimate the precedent set by China's expansive claims, with no legal basis, to territory in international waters. And our ally, the US, is led by an unreliable and weak leader. Accounts of inevitable American decline are often exaggerated, but the country faces serious problems. Its politics are bordering on dysfunctional. Its soft power has taken a hit. It has been at war in the Middle East for 16 years. But our region is not becoming bipolar, it is becoming multipolar. Other Asian countries are preparing to play bigger roles. There are signs the government is adjusting to this multipolar landscape. In his security-themed speech to the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore in June, Mr. Turnbull argued that middle powers in Asia should take more responsibility for maintaining the regional order, declaring, "We cannot rely on great powers to safeguard our interests."